Today I'd like to take a break from my usual upbeat content and get a little bit more serious. Now, it's no secret by now that Rainbow Six Siege is probably my most played game ever. But honestly, the past couple of months have been pretty miserable on the game. Don't get me wrong, the game has drastically improved since year 2, but there is still a lot of things that need to be addressed. Now, just a disclaimer, I'm no pro at this game. In fact, I play mostly on my Xbox. But in my many years of playing this game, I was able to achieve Plat 2, which is saying something on console. The higher you get in the ranks, the more mouse and keyboard cheaters you run into. This has been a problem for years and really doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. Now, I'm no video game developer, but there are just some movements that aren't achievable on console, and there certainly has to be a way to detect that. I've sent videos and everything of blatant cheaters to Ubisoft support, and they've done nothing about it. Which is really unfortunate because I do believe I can hit Diamond, but it's just not possible with everybody cheating. Which is truly a bummer because I honestly enjoy ranked, but it's not fun going up against people that are mechanically better than you. I've spent years mastering the recoil of most of these weapons, and I just feel like all of that work is nullified by a Zim adapter. But unfortunately, it seems like that problem will never be able to be fixed. It's just something I'm going to have to live with or make the switch to PC. Which even then isn't a good alternative for me because I've spent so much money on my Xbox, not to mention all the people I play with are on Xbox. Plus, I'll be going up against people that have played nothing but mouse and keyboard, and I'm fairly new to it. At this point, the cheaters are just something I'm going to have to live with. But let's move on to something that plagues both console and PC. Light machine guns. I find it weird that LMGs have been in the game pretty much since launch, and now all of a sudden they're becoming a problem. Like, did something change, or did it really take people 7 years to realize how inherently broken they are? And that's not really the first time this happened. Take IQ's LMG for example, the G8A1. When I first started playing this game, not one person used that LMG. But as soon as Amaru came out and they were forced to use that, people realized how good it was. Now, I can't run into an IQ not using it. But back to bigger LMGs like Finket and Zophia's. In a one-shot headshot game, they are anything but fair. Not to mention the lack of recoil they have. Hell, there's worse SMGs with higher recoil. But however Ubisoft does decide to fix them, it's honestly astounding how long it's taken them to fix it. This unknown change is set to come out next season, and I couldn't be happier. Because as a defender, hearing a whole team of LMGs means you're gonna lose, no matter how good your sight setup is. Another thing Ubisoft needs to change is the map ban system. I feel like the only reason it was put into place is to give Ubisoft time to actually rework the maps. And in theory, it was a pretty good idea. You know, if you wanted to play the bad maps, just don't vote for them. But that's just the problem. Who would want to play a terrible map? I mean, at least competitively. I in fact love a lot of the problematic maps. Hereford Base is my all-time favorite map, and in ranked, I absolutely adore Canal. Attacking top floors Maverick is probably my all-time favorite thing to do in competitive play. But honestly, I never get to experience that because everybody bans Canal. Ranked gets very boring when all you play is Bank, Coastline, and Consulate. And it's another reason why I'm not enjoying the game anymore. It's just become monotonous. We have a community begging for new maps, but the moment they release one, it's never played. I have not played a single ranked match on Emerald Plains, which is really unfortunate because I do truly enjoy it as well. If I had to choose a newer map that I didn't want to play on, it'd probably be Outback. I don't feel comfortable anywhere as an attacker, and as a defender, I feel like there's really nowhere to hide. Especially that god-awful garage. I don't know what was worse, OG Outback's garage or the newer one. But even if I do get put in Outback, at least it's something new. I really don't find it fun at all to play the same maps and do the same site setups over and over and over again. At that point, I might as well just watch somebody else play it. And I don't think that's a good attitude to have at all about one of my favorite games. The last thing I'd like to bring up isn't really about the game itself, but it's just the community in general. Ignoring all the toxicity, I feel a lot of Siege players are kinda hypocrites. I don't know how to explain it, but it seems like nobody's happy with anything that gets done. I remember towards the beginning of the game everybody was griping about visibility, which is a valid complaint. You want to see your enemies in a competitive first-person shooter. So to fix this problem, Siege did a multitude of things. I remember the first thing Siege did was remove nighttime maps. So many people got upset by this change. Another thing Siege did was remove dead bodies, which, don't get me wrong, I was guilty of it myself, but people would hide inside of dead bodies to get an advantage on people. Now, that's honestly impossible. I don't see the drawbacks here. The only downside I see is it ruining the immersion. But quite frankly, I'll take balancing over immersion any day. The last thing Siege did was add rim lighting, and I'll never forget some of the comments that was left on their Twitter posts. People were comparing the game to Call of Duty or even Overwatch. Personally, I never really see the rim lighting. It was that unnoticeable. Not to mention there's a setting to turn it off. Another thing I remember the Siege community wasn't that happy about is reusing weapons. I personally never really cared because it gives me another chance to use a weapon that I probably wouldn't use on somebody else. Take Smoke, for example. Most every Smoke player in the world uses the shotgun SMG-11 combo. That means for 4 years, the FMG-9 just kind of sat there in Smoke's inventory. But with the inclusion of Nook, it gives me a reason to use it. Same with the 612. Nobody uses it on Legion. In fact, if you bring it on Legion, people will say you're throwing. But with how I play Nook, I feel more confident running the 612 on her than I ever would on Legion. Same with Thatcher's AR-33. I never touched that gun until Flores came out. There's over 100 unique weapons in this game, and I personally don't see a reason to add anymore. Yes, it is nice to have new content in the game, but mathematically, some guns are just very similar to each other. Take Thorn's Uzi, for example. It is extremely similar to my Zog, but just different enough to feel new. But back on the FMG-9. I remember when Nook came out, everybody was complaining that it was too weak of a weapon and that they didn't enjoy playing with it. And the consensus was take that away and give her Echo's MP5. And during the time of Nook's release, the MP5 SD and the FMG-9 had the exact same DPS. And if they did decide to go through with that change, nothing would be different. I just wonder how different she would have been had she released with that gun. Either way, no matter what weapon she has, every weapon is a one-shot headshot. At this point in my Siege career, I'm more worried about fire rate than I am at the damage per second. That's why guns like the P10 Roni and the SMG-11 are still god-tier weapons. And Siege can add as many ARs as they want, but a fast-firing SMG will always win. All in all, I just feel Rainbow Six has become very stale. As unfortunate as it is, I find myself enjoying other games more these days. It sucks that I'll never get past Platinum because of cheaters. It sucks that I'll never be able to enjoy the new maps because nobody wants to learn them. Thank you all for watching and listening to me rant for 8 minutes straight.